You know what's crazy is like the way Brotherhood is done, it almost feels like it was a spinoff just by the creators to expand on some fun things they didn't in the first one, and that's why maybe they felt like the brothers got so much exposure in the first series. This is kind of like a fun side one. But the thing is, that's the original manga creation, so that makes me think that the brothers weren't as developed in the manga then. They weren't as important.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I think that the first series did better. Honestly, it worked, flushed them out.
I think the only other thing I could think about of this when it comes to adaptations is actually the JoJo OVAs compared to the source material. And you know why?
Hmm.
Because
Why?
of Jotaro's characterization.
Yeah, that's
Because
true.
Kimura steals the spotlight from him, and they changed all the scenes in the OVA so he could better suit Jotaro as the main lead.
Well, it worked. He kind of actually Jotaro was kind of oddly enough shoved to the side. Like even in panels, he's kind of because he's the loner, I guess. He kind of is. Everyone else kind of takes over in that
The
sense.
reason I say Jotaro, well,
Chat.
I talked about this with Lunar before, but basically I felt that Jotaro was such a contradiction to Araki's like writing.
Hmm.
Compared to any other of his characters, including Joestars, no one is as stoic as Jotaro. In contrast to all of his other characters who are very quirky and expressive. It just doesn't feel like Jotaro belongs in the JoJo series.
Well, I think that he was intentionally doing that though, because in a way, part three is kind of the culmination of ending of that big arc. So if you're gonna end it with that, I guess end it with a main protagonist that people would get behind because dark and stoic is cool. I guess.
Yeah, but at the end, like everyone just went Polnareff.
Yeah, that's true. I kind of hate that, especially in Japanese culture, where they think the dark and brooding and silent type is like the most awesome character, especially in RPGs and games, because I guess you want to be that character, or you want to feel like you're a part of that story. But at the end of the day, when you think about it, it's kind of like, no, this character is very bland, and I cannot really relate to this character or root for him. He's just there.
He's so dark though. All the ladies like him.
Oh, fuck that. No, man, no.
He's
No.
he's
Don't believe
mysterious.
that shit.
He's mysterious, is what it is.
No, no.
That's the draw for that type of character. I mean, it's kind of true over here too. I mean, people like their dark and mysterious guys. I mean, look at your most obvious examples. Batman.
You said Batman?
Yeah.
But Batman is fucking interesting.
Well, that's because he's a main character, though.
Yeah, but then if you put Jotaro next to Batman, I'm sorry, Batman gonna win.
Well, yeah, but it's
the
Batman.
thing is, though, like, firstly, you could. Well, this is gonna change to a different conversation now. But the point is, like, I don't know, you want to keep this going or you want to wrap it up.
That's fine.
Well, basically, what I'm gonna say this very briefly is that with the OVAs, I feel like they could still do more. And personally, I just feel that Jotaro was like a bit of a wasted potential for the Joestars. He's supposed to be the third and the finale for the whole Dio arc. For the whole family lineage being plagued by this vampiric evil. To me, like there were so many opportunities that could make Jotaro's character a lot better, and Araki just didn't do it, and I just kind of felt disappointed with that.
Do you think maybe in a way it was kind of supposed to be humorous because even when he finds out about his lineage and his stands and his powers and everything, he's kind of even though his mother's like life's in peril and that's the whole point for the arc, he's so
detached.
He's so aloof about it, so detached. It's like he doesn't even seem that interested. Like I guess he is obviously, but he appears like he doesn't care, and so we don't get that much insight into him.
That's the difference because if you take the '90s OVA, even a little bit the 2000s, there's more of an emphasis on that because if you think about it, in the '90s one, they only picked the fights that Jotaro was more involved in. Like the Endo fight,
Exactly.
The Darby the Gambler one, where he especially was wagering like the souls. Then the whole Endo thing, where respecting his grave, and then finally they changed Polnareff's encounter to Dio for it to be Jotaro's encounters with Dio, and then the final battle and everything. Then if you take the 2000s one into consideration, the beginning starts out that during the time in his prison cell and awakening his stand, Jotaro was getting visions of the past of his family lineage of Jonathan Joestar. Emphasizing like his duty or what he needs to do. That's things that what the original series lacked. And I'm thinking if you did a lot more with Jotaro, a lot more, then Jotaro could have been like the perfect way to wrap up the story.
You're right.
I thought of like several ideas. Jotaro could have been better. One was that what if the Sword of Luck and Pluck was actually passed through the family lineage and Jotaro had it to use it to slay Dio, or what if Jotaro experienced visions of of Jonathan's past life or something, or even just bonding more with Joseph. But you don't see that much of that happening either.
Yeah.
Well, I do feel like you could tell he does care about his about Joseph, though. It's just, you know.
Not too often, because to me the biggest example where Jotaro failed as the Joestar is because he never shed manly tears.
Oh well,
Yeah.
because he was too dark and brooding. You
Yeah,
see?
he was trying to be too cool, man.
Too
Yeah,
tough, man.
because
Too tough.
the reason I say that, because every Joestar had a certain level. They achieve a change in their personality at one point where they just sort of awaken to their destiny. For Jonathan, it was, I guess the first step was when he lost George Joestar. I think that was the first step, but then the next one was the loss of Sepeli, because after that he accepted the Ripple, and he basically became like the ultimate Ripple warrior ready to face Dio. That's where he changed.
Mm-hmm.
In Joseph, it was Caesar, like the loss of Caesar is what changed him. In Jotaro,
Yep.
the losses of both Kakyoin and Joseph were like so brief. They didn't even get time to reflect upon it. And that to me was the biggest problem, where all the good stuff that happened in 1 and 2 does not happen in part 3.
That is true, I guess.
You know what? I was gonna ask something. It's kind of, you know what? I kind of felt we really did. I'm sorry. We really didn't know about Jotaro past at all, or know him as a real character, because, like, we know that Jonathan had like a tragic childhood when Dio came around, and that was started the Phantom Blood arc. Then you had Joseph Joestar, who didn't really had his parents around. He had his grandmother, and he was kind of rebellious, kind of like, fuck these old coops and shit. I'm just gonna hang out and be a thug. And battle tendency started when his true destiny came, and then with Jotaro, it kind of was like, yeah, I'm just a delinquent for no apparent reason. My mom cares about me. My dad's a musician. And it's kind of like, where does this attitude come from? And it's like, okay, we understand that he's a delinquent. I know, like, characters like Yusuke Urameshi, like, why does he have this behavior of being like an asshole? But here it's kind of like, yeah, I'm just being an asshole because it's cool, so fuck everyone.
Yeah, there isn't that much development for the precursor, that is for sure. And it's funny. I think people kind of might have this misconception about JoJo, but it is still very shonen, and is in fact one of the great pinnacles of shonen, and one of the biggest ideas. People joke about it, but it kind of goes back to the manly tears that Hero likes to talk about. But the thing is, at the heart of shonen, especially even battle series, it's about compassion, and the loss of that friend. The loss of anybody is a big boost for power traditionally, and that is a big change for their character when they have those realizations. And I think that Jonathan, especially, and Joseph too, they really were perceived as being these well-rounded characters, and we got to see this awesome transformation based upon their events, especially when they accepted it. I mean, we saw a lot with Jotaro. He's cool looking, of course, and he does have his machismo that suffices for the arc, I guess. But you are right; he is pretty flat and underdeveloped for the most part.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, that you can't. I don't know. For me, you can have characters who are silent types and all Brody and shit, but you gotta at least make them have some sort of personality to say, like, okay, I can identify this character, or be like, okay, this character is interesting in some way or form. But here, Jotaro, like you said, man, not to sound like a broken record, but bland as fucking. He's just bland, man, like fucking bread, man.
Yeah. And yet, two people in this conversation picked them as their favorite Joestar. just.
How about that?
Oh, I did?
No, me and Merlin, despite all the shit we say, we still pick Jotaro as our favorite.
Because he's so badass.
Because the reason why we like him, and the reason why he suffers, this actually applies to both things, is because he's half a Kenshiro.
Pretty much.
He's half a Kenshiro.
Yes.
So you can't say the same thing for Jonathan?
Well, Jonathan's half the Kenshiro, but he has the better half. Yeah, he's got the compassionate side. He got all the tragedy upbringings, and the necessity, for heroism and all that. Jotaro, on the other hand, he just carries the anger and the badassness of Kenshiro, which as a whole, that is just a very subjective thing.
But I'm saying, okay, what I want to say is, would any other character have that? And let's say would you consider Jotaro your favorite character if his personality changed or someone else had his, you know?
Here's the thing. Like when it comes to favorites, we're being very subjective, yes. In this conversation, we are aware that Jotaro's character is not on par when it came to like Jonathan, Joseph. I guess not even Josuke, Johnny, and especially not to his daughter Jolene, because Jolene's like
Yeah.
way more developed than he is.
He's
Yeah.
probably the blandest, underdeveloped
But
joke.
I think it's between him and Giorno who are actually the most underutilized in their stories because they kind of get overshadowed by other characters like Jotaro and Polnareff, and in Giorno. I mean, in part 5 it was instead of Giorno it was Bruno that kind of hogged the spotlight. And then what I could say is that I think people would have liked Jotaro more if he carried the same traits that part 1 and part 2 had, but then again part 3 as a whole just felt very different from 1 and 2.
you know what? Why didn't they just make Polnareff a Joestar?
Because Polnareff is Joseph, man.
just give him a Joestar. Just give him like the birthmark. That's their cousin, man.
You know what? You actually brought up an interesting question though, because you are right. You're absolutely right. Really, Jonathan and Jotaro are kind of like two different major aspects of Kenshiro. So, where does that leave Joseph?
Joseph has. I say he does have the Kenshiro look for some areas, but actually, I feel Joseph is more what Araki's own spin on masculinity, more than anything.
Hmm.
I thought you was. Oh, I'm sorry.
No. Say what were you gonna say, Kai?
I was gonna say. I thought you was gonna say that's Araki's take of what Americans are.
Well, if we were speaking North Star logic, like if there was a character that Joseph represents or closest to, it'd be Juza of the Clouds, because the way how laid back he was and kind of goofy as well. Because I feel like Joseph expresses exactly what Araki wanted as a main character, and for all subsequent JoJo characters, they have to be like very comical, very goofy, very expressive, loud, a bit random, yet carry these traits of family and honorable deeds, but at the same time have a little hint of mischief into them. Because if you look at Josuke is almost like a Joseph. Because Josuke is a bit of a Joseph clone too, because he starts off very much like Jotaro, very stoic, very like angry, and then as the series progresses, he becomes more comical, like his dad, and basically becomes the '90s version of Joseph Joestar.
Well, he is his son
Oh,
after
y'all.
all, so so you're gonna pick up your quirks from your parents either way. That's just me.
Well, the point is, I think that's the other reason why people really like him, is that he is that likable character. That also, as a whole, the world, people just love comedy, and they just love like comedic characters more than anything.
You think so?
Well, lately it's between very comedic characters or very dark and badass characters. One of the two. Because I know like, let's say Jonathan. I know for sure not many people like Jonathan because he seems more as the staple or the poster boy when it comes to like chivalry. That type of hero.
But he's so well written.
Yeah, he is well written. I think that's kind of the thing that diminishes people, like, or they don't see it, or I don't know, they just don't see him. Either that, or they just don't like Jonathan because he's too good-hearted. But but he has to be that good because that's what makes him.
Right, he's like Superman.
Yeah, because he has to be that pure of heart because that's what makes him a contrast to Dio Brando, who is like the polar opposite.
Exactly.